Tea time. It is tea time. Let me get my where's my fun glasses? There we go. Yay! So get on in here, everybody. Let me get the chat up for us. And where's my hairbrush? Took my hair down and didn't comb it. Went to bed last night with it wet. It's not a good look, but hey, I'm supposed to wash it tonight. There's my sweet sister. So get on in here. Get on in the room with us. I have got misbehaving cats. They've been out most of the day and then they came back in and they have found a screen in my kitchen. I have one window that has a screen on it. The rest of them we don't open the windows very often. When we do, we need to. But they've been picking at the screen, so I'm gonna have to take the screen down, put it behind the organ. So when I can't find the screen next summer, y'all remind me that it's behind the organ. Oh my. It's funny. It's just funny, y'all. So what I wanted to talk with you today, I was watching another one of those wonderful testimonies from a man from around Birmingham, Alabama, on a stronger faith. And I was reminded of my own testimony. And I know I've told it to y'all in the past, but it was just a beautiful thing that it was many years ago. I had a costume, and it was a costume of a trout. I had made it, and it was two pieces of foam rubber, and you could stretch your arms out in it, and you could swim. Not really swim, but pretend to be a a, a trout swimming upstream, doing trout things. And I would go around to schools in the afternoon during their afternoon after school was out. Some of the kids had to wait on parents to come and pick them up. It was an after school activity. And I got this young man from the high school to help me. He put on the trout costume. I put on a fly fishing costume. Well, it wasn't a costume, it was my fly fishing vest and waders and such. And I was taking this kid home from an event that we had done in Rosman. And he lived on the state line of North Carolina, South Carolina, up a mountain. And I'm coming down the mountain. And all of a sudden, I hear, "You're going to have a blowout. Just, you're going to have a blowout." And the reason I was reminded of this testimony of mine is that this man, and I shared it on our community page on YouTube. I think it was the last one I shared from A Stronger Faith. And I don't remember the man's name, but it was a beautiful testimony of his life. His life. He was an immigrant. He joined our Air Force. No, he joined the Navy. He became a pilot in the Navy and became a U.S. citizen. And he was just this amazing man. And he ran into some tough times. So as I'm listening to him talk about how God had helped him, I was reminded of this trout costume and how I hear a voice. And I don't know if it was in my ears or in my head, however the Holy Spirit talks to you, I heard the Holy Spirit say, "You're going to have a blowout." I never had a blowout in my life. I knew how to handle a blowout, because the worst thing about a blowout is losing control of your car and pulling off to this, trying to get back onto the pavement because it really shook. And I had a Mercury Grand Marquis in 1988, Mercury Grand Marquis, and it was Robert. When we first met, Robert said, "You have a land boat." He called it a land boat, and I had new tires on this car. They weren't very old at all, and I started arguing with the Lord. I said, "They're new tires, God. They're new tires." The fact that I recognized it was the Lord was a powerful testimony that uh, the sheep will know His voice. The sheep will know the shepherd's voice. So I I did exactly what any self-respecting person would do when you think when you've been told you're gonna have a blowout. You put your hands on the steering wheel and hold on for dear life, because I was going down a mountain road and they are dangerous at best. So I put my hands 10 and 2, 9 and 3, just I'm in the right position, and the tire blows out, and I've got total control of the car. But I was up a mountain road and there was no place to pull over. So I had to ride the car down the mountain and get off on a country road that was along the East Fork of the French Broad River. They called the area East Fork. And I had a spare tire. I had a spare tire. So I know how to change tire. I've been changing tires my whole life. I was taught how to change a tire and I knew how to do it. So I put my spare tire on, and there was this truck driving past. Just it wouldn't stop and talk to me, but I had my fly fishing stuff on, I had been to school and it was getting dark and I had a hat on, and I was reminded of that today. Somebody's aunt and uncle gave them a hat. It looked like a Filson hat to me. My hat was a Filson hat. And I put my hat on and I was a little frightened, but I wouldn't show it. And this truck with 3 people in the truck kept running past. And it's dark out. I've got a flashlight. I'm changing the tire. And this lady pulls up, and I think it was an angel. I don't know who she was, but she and her son stopped, and she said, "Is there anything we can do to help you?" And I said, "No, I got it. If you'll just sit here, there's been a truck driving past several times, and I've had to get into the ditch to change the tire. I had to dig out my tire out of the trunk because Alexander's father had filled my nephew had filled my trunk up with sweatshirts, lots of sweatshirts, and I couldn't get to the tire. But I eventually got to the tire, put the spare put the busted tire in the trunk, put the sweatshirts back in there, and went to a friend's house down the street and asked them to tighten the lugs, because I had to still go up a mountain, 78 curves up to Balsam Grove. So Mr. King tightened up the lugs. I went up the mountain, went down the mountain next morning. Now, you know those donuts don't go very far. It's not a full-size tire. It is a small tire and you can get about 50 miles on it. Well, I live about 25 miles out from town and I was going to college at the time. And y'all, I had 13 cents in my bank account. 13 cents. And when I tell you that this man I was listening to, he was giving his testimony. He had 13 cents in the bank. You know, that's kind of convenient, isn't it? Trying to discourage you and so I went to I was at the college. I was expecting some money in that was a stipend to help me pay for different things, rent and stuff. And I checked to see if that had come in. It hadn't. I went to the guidance counselor and thought, well, maybe I could borrow $50 just to get a tire that was a used tire to put on my car. And nope, there wasn't any funds to do that with. And I remember it was cold. It was so cold out. I remember standing outside and crying out to God. God, I don't know what I'm going to do. And Patty's right. I just had a Chrome update on here. That's why I was running late. But I just threw my hands up. I said, God, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I purchased the tires from Charlie's Tire here in town. And I went and I talked to Mr. Charlie and I talked to his son. And they told me, we'll get you fixed up. We'll get you fixed up. I said, I don't have any money. They said, that's okay. We'll get you fixed up. And when they looked at the tire, they said it couldn't be fixed. The pavement had jammed into the side of the wall of the tire and it was destroyed and it couldn't be fixed. And I still didn't know what I was going to do. Well, they got to the trunk of now it's the coldest day of the year so far. And they opened up the trunk to get to the tire, and the tire was on the bottom. And they had to pull these sweatshirts out to get to the tire. And these guys out back are cold. And one of them is a painter, and he paints on shirts. And Danny came in and he said, you got all those sweatshirts in your trunk. What are you going to do with those? And I said, well, my brother-in-law gave them to me. And I've just been giving them to people. And I was going to sell them at a yard sale, but it's been too cold to have a yard sale. And he said, the guys out back want to buy some of them. How much do you want for them? I said, just a couple of dollars a piece. You know what? Danny sold $200 worth of sweatshirts. Enough to pay for me a brand new tire. It was a beautiful thing. Enough to pay for a brand new tire. I did nothing, but God knew I would need those sweatshirts. And he used my brother-in-law to put those in store for me for when I needed them. And it was just a powerful, powerful work of all glory goes to God. And I was reminded of this watching this testimony. And last year, I talked to Danny on the phone. I said, I bet you don't remember me. He had to call something about to tell Robert that he had sold the tires he had ordered for Robert, and they weren't going to be able to put them on Thursday, that sort of thing. And I said, I bet you don't remember me. I said, you helped me out one time when I couldn't pay for a tire because I only had 13 cents in the bank. And he had remembered what had happened. I said, you and your dad were amazing to trust me. And it was good to thank him for what he did for me at that time. So, y'all, whenever you see a need, and I watched a young woman the other day say her life changed when she quit giving people money on a loan. She and her husband decided that if somebody needed money and they asked for a loan, they would give it to them with no thought to being paid back. That is the way to live, y'all. That is the way to live. Is to just bless someone else. If you have the money to help somebody, do it. I mean, we look around Western North Carolina and people are suffering. Children are suffering. They're sleeping in tents. It's been bad. But I am blessed. I am totally blessed. I have a home. And people are hurting. So you keep the people of Appalachia in your prayers. I was so thankful the other day. Vice President-elect Vance came to Fairview and met with the family of a fallen firefighter. He and his nephew tried to help rescue some people, and they died in the process. And J.D. Vance is from Appalachia. He grew up in Appalachia. He understood about how water runs down mountains. Yeah, it's from the hurricane. Yeah. September the 27th. We still don't know how many people died. So many homes can't be repaired at all. So y'all, do you have a testimony about how you heard from the Lord? If you do, contact a Stronger Faith. They got a form you can fill out. How certain things changed your life. God hears our cries. He heard Abel's cry, his blood cry from the earth when his brother had killed him. No, I'm sad because of the devastation that's here right now. I'm celebrating the fact that God took care of me, and He gets all the glory. From you're going to have a blowout to Charlie and his son, Danny, helping me. Now I don't have sound. I don't know what's going on. I got my microphone on. People are hearing it. You might have to turn off your computer and come back in again. But go over to YouTube if you're on Facebook. Go over to YouTube. You might be able to hear it. But people are hurting, y'all. They're hurting. Businesses are hurting. All the restaurants, they're just now coming back on to work. And I was watching Patera this morning, Appalachian Homestead. And she was talking about how she'd been stuck at 50,000 people. And this is a woman that has 500,000 followers on YouTube. But on Instagram, she only had about 50,000. Then all of a sudden, around Thanksgiving, she got a bunch more people to join. Bunch more people. And she couldn't figure out what was going on. And then all of a sudden they stopped again. Well, we've been stuck at like 106,000 on Instagram forever. Lovely that Mr. Vance came, however, just to clarify, he did not grow up in Appalachia. He grew up in Milton, Ohio. His early days were in Appalachia. You've got to read the Hillbilly Elegy. You got to read it. And I read that many years ago when it first came out. And they moved to Ohio when he was like in middle school or something. So he grew up in Appalachia. And if you don't know it, Ohio, part of Ohio and Pennsylvania are Appalachia. So there you go. But read the Hillbilly Elegy. I read it a long time before he ever became a vice presidential candidate. He had a mother that was addicted to opioids. She is free and clear now. So, folks, he was a Marine. He's got some great stories. There's a movie about it, too. They made a movie about it. Anyway, folks, if you've got a testimony that's powerful, like that man I watched, like everybody I watch on A Stronger Faith, send them a note. They have a long play format for their podcast. So y'all, I remember JD telling at the RNC, I don't know where it was. It might have been at a rally, but that when his I don't know what he called his grandmother. She raised him. His Meemaw or something like that. Mama. Anyway, who do we contact? Well, if you have a testimony about a stronger faith, it's a Stronger Faith Ministries, and it's in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. If you want to talk to them about being on their podcast. But Meemaw, yes, Meemaw. His story is amazing. But when they cleaned out her house, they found 27 guns. 27 pew-pews. She had one everywhere around the house. Robert had a grandmother, great-grandmother, I think it was, who lived by herself. And if she heard noise outside, she'd just shoot through the window. Nobody came around her house. Anyway, check out Hillbilly Elegy, the movie, the book. It's a wonderful book. And it's I think they have a website, A Stronger Faith Ministries. I don't know if it's .org, but just look up A Stronger Faith Ministries in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Y'all, God gets all the glory. I'm here because God took care of me. He knew that Robert was here. He knew I would need somebody like Robert in my life to keep me balanced. He knew. And I knew the first day I met him, on our first date, that I would spend the rest of my life with him. I am so blessed. And it's because of the good Lord up above. So, y'all, be good, kind, and sweet. Be good to yourself by sharing your testimony with others, because the blessings that have been on your life will bless someone else. God loves us all. He loves us all. He wants us to spend eternity with Him in heaven. Y'all, we can do this. Y'all pray for Phil Robertson from Duck Dynasty. This is the father in the family. He's pretty sick and has dementia and I don't know what all, but they're asking for prayers for he and Miss Kay and the boys and the grandchildren. Be good to yourself. Be kind to others by being ready to help somebody give their life to Jesus. And let that joy and sweetness that is in your heart show the world who you are. A child of the Most High, the only living God in the cosmos. I love y'all so much. I'm so thankful that God gave me a purpose to my life. I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. No clue. But God did. To God be the glory. Look up that song on YouTube with Luke Powell. He talks about how that song came about. I love y'all so much. See you later. Tomorrow's Plan and Play Day. We're gonna get some menus planned, and we got a couple of weeks here before Christmas rolls around. I'll see y'all later.